India. Thank you so much, Harshi, for giving us your time this morning and gracing today's inauguration ceremony. To request you to open the Pune Startup Fest and say a few words to our budding entrepreneurs.
Thank you, Mrunal, and I am truly honored to be with all of you. I think Mrunal approached me about 1 or 2 months back, and then it culminated in today's event. So thank all of you. Thank College of Engineering Pune and the ECEL event, as well as the Pune Startup Fest. I am not clear, Mrunal. Is it going to be my talk or is it going to be a Q&A question? Because earlier I was told that it will be a dialogue, but I am not clear.
No, the first half an hour is going to be your talk, and in the last 15 minutes, I've made a list of all the questions that have come to you from all the students.
Perfect,
so I've curated them.
Thank you. So I think I'm so happy that all of you are looking at entrepreneurship as your career in future. I have a very, very strong passion as well as respect for entrepreneurs, because I strongly feel that all entrepreneurs add a lot of value to all the stakeholders. And when I'm talking of stakeholders, it means themselves as promoters. It means to their employees, to their customers, to the associates they're working with, and finally to the society. So they're playing a very, very critical role in driving the growth trajectory of India. And I would want more and more individuals, more youngsters to turn entrepreneurs in future. And towards that, as was introduced earlier, I am also running a organization which is helping entrepreneurs scale up. We have something like 700 entrepreneurs already enrolled in this journey. And if any of you have reached a certain level of turnover, you're most welcome to log into our website, ascent.org.in. It's free, and I can assure you that it will be a lot of learning. But we have certain conditions in terms of a certain minimum turnover, and there is a certain group discussion where you need to pass that test. Having said that, I want to talk a little bit about my own journey as an entrepreneur. I started at a very young age in business at the age of 20. And I was let loose by my father in terms of allowing me to do whatever I wanted to do. At that time, it was a completely family-managed organization, where my father, being the eldest, and 3 of his brothers, my uncles, were running the business. And I was the first person from the next generation to join the business. I wanted to study further, to do my MBA. I could not get admission into MBA school in India. At that time, there were very few MBA schools, and my father didn't allow me to go abroad for studies. So I, like an obedient son, went and joined the family business. And looking back, I think it was a good decision, because if I had gone abroad to do my MBA and come back, I would have been very frustrated. Our office was located in the heart of commodity markets in Masjid Bandar, and it was very difficult to attract talent. It was a completely family-owned, family-managed organization. So I think it was a good thing that I went through a learning curve and didn't come with fully like a MBA, and I would have got far more frustrated. So if I look back at my own journey, what has led to establishing as an entrepreneur? And I think the first thing as an entrepreneur, if any of you are looking at being an entrepreneur, is to identify the right opportunity. You have to dig deep in terms of your consumer or customer and identify that unmet need with that consumer has it. And many a times that customer themselves will not realize that they have a certain unmet need. So one has to go dig deeper in terms of what is that unmet need which you can fulfill. It's a highly competitive environment today. And if you start a Me Too business, which others are doing, it will be relatively difficult to succeed. So I have a strong belief that innovation is a very, very important part of an entrepreneurial journey. And if one has to succeed, you have to do something which is unique, which adds value to the customer and not unique by itself. So it could be anything innovative. It could be a product, it could be a service, it could be a process, but ultimately it has to add value to the customer. And depending on the kind of business one is in, you can You can do different things. For example, in consumer products, it's most important to identify an unmet need. For for a pharma business, it could be leveraging on a technology and developing a new drug. For a service business, it could be to ensure that highest levels of service orientation in that hospitality business. So I think the key thing, once you identify what area you want to enter in terms of a business, you need to dig deeper and go and find out what is the unique business model which you have, which will not become similar to what others are doing. Because if you do a me too, as I said earlier, your chances of success will be much lesser. And if I look back at my own journey, when I started coconut oil, most of coconut oil was sold loose. We have this Parachute brand name, and all the business was in tins. And we said that can we actually convert that packed coconut oil from tin to plastics, because tins is more expensive compared to plastics. It's plastics is more convenient to use, and it's relatively more attractive to keep on your dressing table compared to a tin. It is more also convenient to use because you can pour the plastic bottle, as against you have to dip your fingers in a tin can. So we thought we had a winner on hand, and we did some research amongst the retailers at that time, and realized that there was huge resistance to launching or to storing product coconut oil in plastic, because apparently about 8 or 10 years prior to us entering that segment, somebody else had launched coconut oil in plastics, and it was a disaster because it was launched in a square shaped bottle, and a lot of oil on the outer surface of the bottle led to rat biting in retailer shop when they closed the shop in the evening. And when they opened, not only the product was destroyed, but even the shop got spoiled. So virtually the retailer was saying we are not going to stock it. But as an entrepreneur, you never give up. You go on trying if you are convinced that you have a good thing in your hand. So we decided to go back to the drawing board and ensure that we have a round shaped bottle where the rat will find it difficult to get a grip. We went to our packaging department and told them that there should not be any oil on the outer surface of the bottle. And then we did all that, and we kept a few bottles in a rat cage for a day or two. We took pictures and nothing happened. I think that was enough of a proof to us, and to say that, okay, we can now give an assurance to our retailers that even if there is a damage, we will compensate you. And we converted the whole market from tin to plastics. It took almost 5 years for us to convert the market from tin to plastics. But looking back, at one level, it looked very simple, the conversion. But at the same time, it needed a lot of thinking in terms of execution and how do you increase plastic sales. And that helped us gain tremendous market share. We had a market share of something like 10% before we launched plastics. And over 4 or 5 years, because of this so-called innovation in packaging, our market share jumped up to 50%. So I think that just reinforced the belief in me that innovation plays a very important role. The other thing I want to talk about is we have also, looking back, we have pioneered a certain businesses or certain products which were not existing earlier. For example, a brand like Saffola was positioned as good for the heart, and nobody had taken that positioning. And we came up with a product which helps in that. We have entered into now Saffola Foods. So we launched Saffola Oats. At that time, we realized that oats was a Me Too product like Quaker Oats or Kellogg's Oats. So we went back to our customer and tried to find out from them what will make them buy our oats. And I think the inciting revealed that Indians like savory breakfast. They don't like sweet breakfast. So can you do something like what Maggie did to noodles in terms of offering a range of oats which were savory oats? So we did research in terms of taste profiles in each state and came up with a range of savory oats, masala oats, pav bhaji oats, and many others. And we opened a new segment in the oats in which we almost have a 80% market share. That segment itself is worth about 150 or 200 crores today, and it's growing at almost 25-30%. So that was a pioneering move, and I think many examples I can give from my own journey. A Revive, a brand which was launched for starching clothes, because at that time Starching was took about 15 minutes, half an hour for a housewife to starch clothes. And we said that if you can offer a product which can immediately starch the clothes by putting the starch in the water and dipping the clothes, then we will actually give a lot of convenience to the housewife. And I think that brand was launched. Even a brand like Medicare, which we acquired from Procter and Gamble, it's an anti-lice shampoo we acquired, and we realized that shampooing in rural areas is not prevalent. If you offer the same product in an oil format, we would actually be able to increase market size because people are used to using oil, and our sales just doubled within 1 year after acquiring the brand. A business like Kaya also was a pioneering in move in skincare. So what I want to say is that we have had multiple ways of increasing our business through innovations and pioneering opportunities. And I would urge each entrepreneur or potential entrepreneur to identify what they can do in making this happen. This is a continuous process. You can't just say that I've innovated once and stop. On a perpetual basis, you need to innovate and you need to pioneer. So for that, you need to create a culture of innovation to ensure that the innovation pipeline is very, very strong. But before going into the culture part, I just want to say that in my own journey, I've had multiple failures. So it's okay to fail. And prior to launching our Saffola oats, savory oats, we had launched Saffola baked snacks in Bombay about 7 or 8 years back. At that time, there were no baked snacks, and we felt that with health awareness increasing, if we are able to offer non-fried snacks in terms of baked snacks, we would be able to get good market through that route. Unfortunately, what happened was our product development and our marketing felt that because it was under the brand name Saffola, health was given more importance than taste. So we had a very, very healthy product, but on taste, it was a little bit of compromise because we went overboard on health. And to a consumer, especially in foods and in impulsive food like snacks, taste was the most important thing. So we learned that lesson and then we incorporated the learnings out of that failure in our oats, savory oats journey, which has worked very well. So there have been multiple failures, but out of each failure, there has been some learning, and we've applied that in our future journey, and we have done well after incorporating that learning. I'll go now into the importance of talent and culture. Let me begin by saying that there is war for talent. If you are thinking of um, starting a new business, you have to treat hiring like marketing. You have to attract very good talent, and for that to be done, you have to market yourself as an organization. So, how do you market yourself is the big challenge. I would say that each of you need to identify what is unique about you in terms of attracting talent. When we formed Marico in the year 1990, we identified empowerment as our employee value proposition, which was unique compared to what others were doing. We attract talent from leading FMCG companies like Levers, Proctors, and these are multinational corporations where empowerment is much lesser because a lot of decisions take place in their headquarters in some other country. And in our case, we said that we don't have any headquarters. We are the headquarters. So we said that what experience you will undergo working with us will be far more enriching because we'll be empowering you. And I think that worked in terms of attracting talent. So the key thing is what is the unique thing you're offering. It could be anything which is unique compared to your competition, but you need to identify what is the unique experience you're going to offer to potential employees, and you need to leverage that. So when we formed Marico in the year 1990, we recruited some like 40 or 50 managers from different backgrounds, and each one coming with their own set of beliefs in terms of how they should be managing people, what kind of products we should be doing, and for each decision there were different individuals uh, were reacting differently. And at that time, I realized that if we had to succeed as an organization, we need to identify what are our values and how do decisions take place, and can our values guide our members to arrive at decision. Values and culture is not an end by itself; it's a means to an end. I was very clear based on my earlier experiences that innovation is very critical to succeed. So, how do we create an innovative organization culture was one of our key challenges when we finalized our values. And how can innovation happen in an organization? So, for innovation to happen in an organization, you need people who are young, who are diverse in terms of their backgrounds. It could be gender diversity, it could be educational diversity, it could be nationality diversity. But when you get diverse people, they come with a different background. And when you put all of them in a culture which is very open and transparent, they start talking about their own beliefs, their experiences, and that leads to a lot of new ideas. So it's very important to have people who are diverse, who are empowered, and put them in an open culture. We also have a very flat organization structure where a lot of empowerment is given to people because the structure is very flat. And most importantly, we encourage people to take risks and experiment. If somebody takes a certain risk and experiments, and if that experiment does not succeed, it is very important for the organization not to punish that failure. If at all a punishment is given in terms of giving less increment or not promoting that person, even though that person is worthy of promotion, will mean that you're giving a very, very wrong signal organizationally, and people will stop taking this. So, to sum up, organizational culture arises out of uh, attracting good talent, young talent, bring in diversity, have a flat structure, empower them, encourage them to take risks, don't punish them for failures. And if you really want to de-risk, then you can prototype that in a very small way. In our case, we can prototype our consumer products through a chain of retail stores or in a particular town. And we go on doing that because otherwise, to launch a product nationally would mean huge outlays in terms of advertising and things like that. So, normally, before we launch our product nationally, we prototype it, and it's like a live lab. There are limitations to market research. Of course, one can do market research, but all the answers you'll not get through market research, and you have to be present in the marketplace. And then when you are prototyping something, you're actually studying what is the consumer reaction to pricing, product, packaging, and if need be, go on making those changes. And once you achieve those action standards, then you launch it. If you don't achieve the action standard, it's better to say that okay, it's not succeeded, so let's not go ahead with the national launch. So I think that's how we finalized a culture, and culture building is a very, very I think it takes time. It takes 3 to 5 years. How do you build in an openness within an organization was a big challenge. So we were moving into a new office, and the brief given to the interior designer was that it should reflect openness. So we had an office where people could see each other, including me. We have an open house with all our employees, including our workmen, and they are encouraged to ask any questions, any awkward questions to management. We have training programs for all our managers which promote openness. We have relationship reviews with managers and their peers, talking about how our relationship is. So when you take openness from different angles, you are reinforcing it on a perpetual basis. And I think that's what leads to an open culture. And the same thing is, how do you do trust, So at that time, we said that can we do away with sick leave because we trust you? Can we do away with casual leave? Because if you have casual work, you can take. So you are not entitled to a sick or casual leave, but we trust you. We did away with musters in the office. We also did away with authorization of your expense which you are incurring on behalf of the company to be authorized by your boss. And we said that we trust you and you can self-authorize your claim against whatever expense you incurred for the company. So you give again a very strong signal on trust from the organization, and people uh, understand that this is very, very valuable in the company. And the big challenge is when new people come in, how do they ultimately be a part of the culture and values? So we spend one full day in terms of talking about why values are important, why innovation is important, and what would we expect from them when they join the organization. Actually, much prior to that, when you recruit a person, also we go deeper in terms of what are their beliefs of the individual, and if there is a misfit, then we may not hire that person. I think the third point I want to emphasize is that governance is very, very important. Some entrepreneurs think that I will practice high standards of governance only when I reach a certain level of business in terms of size. But I strongly feel that irrespective of the size, governance plays a very, very important role in an entrepreneur's journey. Because if you do something, if you take shortcuts, you are sowing seeds of taking shortcuts within the organization. People will go on taking shortcuts when you grow up also. So you have to do things in the right way. Don't take shortcuts. And I look at governance beyond that, because many a times there are conflicts between a stakeholder and the organization. So as a promoter, I have a promoter interest, and I also have a organization interest. And when I stepped down as managing director 4 or 5 years back, there was a conflict in terms of what should I be doing, because I had not thought of stepping down. But it so happened that the person who is now the managing director, he would have left if I had not stepped down. I also had the pressure of, okay, what should I do? Normally in India, there's a hierarchical society, and everybody expects that your children will follow you in terms of the role. So I took a different decision of appointing a professional, and I think while deciding that, I said that the organization's interest should come first. And so that's where I'm saying that there was a conflict between me as a promoter and the organization's interest. And the same thing would happen when there's a very capable employee who has worked with you for many years and performed very well. But at some stage, that person starts losing relevance because the business has become more complex or the business has grown. And what do you do with such a person? There's a conflict. Should you reward loyalty, or should you look at the organization's interest? And I always have a thumb rule that the organization's interest comes first. So it is a good thing that if you have a weak performer, especially at senior and top levels, it's better that you dispense with him or her. Do it in a humane manner. You don't ask him to go straight away. Give that person a chance. But still, if it doesn't work out, it's better to do it in a humane manner. And in all cases where I have done that, that person has been able to find a calling in terms of finding some other opportunity which was able to leverage that person's strengths. So I think these are some of my thoughts in driving my own business. Just to sum up, you need to create a right to win in terms of innovation, pioneering, or depending on the kind of business you have, whether it's patent or service levels, which is differentiated in a highly competitive environment. And then only you will set yourself in terms of success in the business. Number two, you need to have very good talent, for which you need to create the right employee value proposition and create a culture. In our case, it was innovation. It could be something else. If you're a service-oriented organization, it could be service levels. And finally, don't take shortcuts on governance. Look at governance not only in terms of compliances and regulations, but beyond that, in terms of ensuring that whenever there are conflicts, you are able to look at the organization's interests first. Let me just add a few things in terms of what I think what makes an entrepreneur. I would say that most important thing is that insatiable curiosity in terms of how the world is operating, and that can only come through reading, interacting with others, dialogues, observations, internet researches, and things like that. Number two, I would say is that you need to have grit. They say passion is important. Passion, of course, is important, but many a times when we are passionate and if we have a setback, we tend to give up. So you need to combine passion with determination and perseverance, and then only you will get grit. So I like the word grit because it combines passion with determination and perseverance. Number three is I think each one of us is born with a God-given strength. The key thing for us is to identify what is our God-given strength and leverage our business based on our strength. For example, I'm not good at understanding of technology, but I'm good at understanding of consumer needs. So I had to be in a business which was not so technology dependent. So I think the key thing is what is your God-given strength and leverage on that strength in terms of choosing an entrepreneur business or vocation which is leveraging on your strengths. The next thing I want to talk about is, everybody says you need to have a vision. My viewpoint is a little different. Of course, when you start a business, you start with an unidentified need or wherever there is an opportunity to grow. But at that stage, no entrepreneur has a clear vision, because the environment is changing so fast that it is very difficult to imagine what will happen maybe 3 or 5 years later. The whole digital journey has happened in the last few years, and it's got accelerated in the pandemic. Nobody could have predicted pandemic and what could have been the implications of that. So beyond a point, you need to have a broad direction as far as the business is concerned, and don't get too focused on having a 3 or 5 year business plan, which will be dependent on the environment, the technology development, as well as how the world is going to change. When the next point I would like to say is that, whenever you have a set of negotiations to deal with, whether it's labor negotiations or whether it is negotiating with your whatever customer, try and arrive at a win-win solution. But while arriving at a win-win solution, don't compromise midway through. At the end of the deliberations, both parties should feel that they have won, and they should be happy with that deliberations. I think at some stage in your journey, one would look at reinventing oneself. So if you're an entrepreneur, when you start, you're doing things, and when you grow, you start recruiting people. At that time, your role shifts from doing things to getting things done from others. And once you get a certain scale in terms of size, your role changes from getting things done from others to influencing others. So I think you need to evaluate, and I think I've seen many entrepreneurs faltering on that because they want to have a very, very close control in terms of what they've built up. They are not willing to delegate. They are not willing to take risks. Sometimes the risk taking may not work out, but unless you take risks, unless you take good talent and delegate, you will not be able to grow. And at some stage from doing things, getting things done, you will have to go into influencing others. So depending on the stage of business, you'll have to go on changing your and you will have to reinvent yourself in terms of how you are getting your work done. And finally, I want to talk about purpose. I think all of us have a purpose in life. It is just not building a business or making money, but beyond a point, you have to start searching yourself. What is the purpose you have for yourself, and what can you do to make this world a better place to live in? So again, depending on individual, one would have to identify the purpose and work towards that, because that will give you far more satisfaction than just succeeding in a business or making financial gains. So I think these are some of my thoughts. If some of you are students still and you want to start a business, and many times people have asked me what kind of organization should I join. Ideally speaking, if you have a little bit clear idea in terms of what sectors you want to go in, I would look at taking up a job in those kind of organizations, and I would look at joining small and mid-sized organizations than very large organization, because then if you are a part of a very large organization, you will get a very limited role. It's like being a small frog in a big pond. But if you are joining a startup or a small organization, that entrepreneur is dependent on you. So you will get much more holistic view of the business, and you are a big frog in a small pond. There is no right answer. You'll have to evaluate that. But by and large, in my opinion, this would work out. So I think with this, I just want to end my talk, and maybe I'll ask Mrinal to grill me with whatever questions she wants to ask.
Thank you so much, sir. This is turning out to be a splendid chat, and we are absolutely loving all these elaborate tips and learnings that you're sharing with us. We are really eager to listen to Mrinal ma'am's questions and your answers to them. Before that, on behalf of Pune Startup Fest, I would like to welcome Mr. Pratap Rao Pawar, Chairman, Board of Governors, COEP.
Baba. Please come here. I know, but you have to say hello.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir, for joining us. Thank you, sir.
I came as a visitor, not as a participant. So thank you, Mr. Mariwala. It was very enlightening.
Thank you.
I spent my journey in a similar way, in a smaller scale. but I understood every philosophy, every word you said, and I totally agree and appreciate. I hope this becomes a thought and guideline for all IOP. Obviously, we are marching ahead, we are progressing, and we want to go a long way. I mean, to serve the country, serve the society. So this initiative taken by Murala and you, I'm really thankful, very happy, and I'm sure this will be useful to the society. Thanks a lot. Yes, Murala.
Thank you, sir. Mrinal ma'am, we now request you to carry on with the questions. We are eager to listen to what you have for Mr. Mariwala.
First of all, it's amazing that you all managed to spot him. But yeah, thank you, Hajri, for sharing your vision, your ideas, your enthusiasm, and a lot of things really stuck with me. And I've just written down just a few points so that just to summarize, your talk, which was the first thing was about identifying unmet needs and to really dig deeper to find a unique business model, so that we're not another me too, and there is some unique business idea. And you also said innovation is a continuous process, and one of the most important things I think for all of us to learn also that it's okay to fail, to be able to attract new talent by marketing yourself, to get people of diverse backgrounds, to have a lot of training programs and open culture, governance and no shortcuts. An entrepreneur should always, be curious and to combine passion with determination, which you called grit, to identify one's strength rather than to have just a vision of 3 to 5 years, to have a broad direction and to have a sense of purpose. So all of these things really stuck with me, and I'm sure it's immensely benefited all the students and all the young entrepreneurs are also listening to you today. And that just brings me to one of my first questions. All of these questions have actually come in from all the students, and I've just put together curated them. What is the role of startups in economic prosperity, and how can it help India to deal with some giants like China?
So I think startups, and I reckon that all the startups would be offering something which is innovative or unique. I think they can play a very important role in driving India's growth. And I see great opportunities for startup, especially in areas where India is backward. And I would say that we have a huge journey to cover up in whether it's education or agriculture or healthcare. And we've seen what happened through the mobile revolution. Can we do a similar thing in healthcare, education, agriculture through the startup journey? And I can assure you that India can actually, we have great opportunities. There are lots and lots of technologies which are emerging internationally, whether it's digital or AI or whatever else, and you can combine many technologies to arrive at a new business model. But all I can say is, yes, startups are going to play a very important role, and I would just like to ensure that they don't remain startup, but they are able to grow successful into much larger organizations, because you have to ultimately grow. You don't want to have a startup which will fold up after a few years. So you have to ensure that from small to medium to large, the journey has to continue. You have to make a big impact. And I think all I can say is entrepreneurs will change India, and entrepreneurs have to change India. And we can't be dependent on the government to say that, okay, they have to ensure that the country succeeds and grows,
Sure, absolutely.
Now, just pitching in because I've been reading a book on China's progress based on AI, and it's very interesting. I'm requesting all my members to read it, but some of your facts are very revealing. They began the startup career with copying, and that became so fierce that they thought this copying is not enough. We have to be better. So having done the technology ability, they went on improving the product.
Correct.
Then started their own products.
Correct.
That the government came forward, the policies came forward, and one visionary politician made a statement that appealed to the mass scale startup culture, which was supported by their system of cities, mayors, politicians, bureaucrats, financial institutions. And today, yesterday there was a news by Chinese premier that they have overcome poverty line.
Okay.
And that is not happened, and accidentally that has happened for years, because the whole China is charged for that.
Mm-hmm.
They're enterprising, they're ambitious, they want to grow, they want to beat America. And I think this spirit is taking China ahead of us or ahead of the world, not the gunpoint. And that is something people have to understand. So startup is very, very important. More the startups, more wealth creation, more knowledge creation, more employment. And I think we as a society, we as a government, we as a bureaucracy must come together to see that we do create and prosper together. Otherwise, it becomes in pockets. I mean, that doesn't serve the purpose. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that experience. Yeah.
In Budget 21, how do you see the government's proposal to incentivize?
So I think I'm not an expert or economist, but I think clearly the budget has brought in some changes in the way the government has thought. From welfare, the government has gone more towards investment. From taxing more, the government has gone into raising resources through monetization and privatization. And these are, I think, very important developments and very important signals in terms of moving forward, because everybody was fearing that the tax rates would go up, but luckily nothing happened on that front. And the fact that most of the investments are going to take place through the investment route will meet, as well as through privatization, will mean that the industry and the business will play a far more important role in future, which will create many more opportunities for newer entrepreneurs. So I see a fundamental shift in terms of the government's thinking in this year's budget. And the government also, the third was that, okay, the fiscal deficit was decided to keep at a much higher level. So I think that's very good. But ultimately, I think the proof of the pudding is in eating, and it's important that it is executed well. These are all intentions of privatization, monetization, investment. So I would want to see that it is executed very well, so that the impact of this is felt by all the entrepreneurs and all of us in terms of increased growth rates.
Sure. You've maintained that the ability to think differently has been a crucial factor in building Marigold what it was today. So, how can new entrepreneurs today adopt this frame of mind when you did? I mean, when you started your company, how did you come to adopt this, imaginative thinking? Or did you have any mentors in the process?
So I didn't have any mentors. I think out of trial and error, I've learned. I decided I launched some Me-Too businesses. It didn't do well, and then whenever we innovated, it succeeded. So through a lot of trial error, through my own failures, successes, I started learning and defining our way forward in terms of innovating. And whenever we innovated, as I said earlier, in Parachute or any other products, it had a discontinuous impact on our business. So I think my initial years of trying different things, I think that helped me in terms of arriving at a journey which I'm able to focus in terms of what we call the right to win, and have the culture of innovation and all that. But I think it has come out of trial and error. I think that's been yeah.
Absolutely. What difference in attitude and vision do you see in entrepreneurs today, other than the entrepreneur maybe 1 or 2 decades back?
So I think the biggest difference is that I think the whole ecosystem for entrepreneurs has developed in India. It still has to develop, but compared to maybe 1 or 2 decades back, it has developed in the sense that you have many other different types of funding options available, whether it is seed funding or whether it is private equity or whether it is a bank or so. Ultimately, when I started, those options were not available. And these players, they don't even just offer funds, but they also offer a lot of advice in terms of running a business. We have a whole host of consultants. You also have an incubation cell. So the ecosystem in terms of setting up a business has developed in the country. I think that has been the biggest shift. The business has become far more competitive than what it was earlier. But there are always going to be pluses and minuses. The other is the overall technology has changed dramatically and likely to change dramatically. So a lot of opportunities arising out of new technologies, whether it's digital technologies or whatever other newer technologies which are emerging, which can be leveraged. The other thing is, the entry barriers which were there earlier, especially in consumer products, have got eliminated or reduced much more because of the fact that, the digital channels have opened up. So you can market a product through digital advertising, which will not require the same level of budgets. You can market the product through e-commerce. You don't need to distribute it in so many shops. So these are fundamental changes which have happened in the environment, which is for which due to which it's easier to establish a consumer product business compared to what it was maybe about 10 years back, because then you required a national advertising budget, you required a all India distribution network, which required huge resources, and you can do now without all that through the digital marketing and e-commerce route.
Can you tell us about your health initiative and the reasons why you started? Yes.
So I think there are two two health initiatives I've undertaken. One is as a business, another is as a giving back to the society. The Giving Back Society is under the Mariwala Health Initiative, and it's an initiative to help. And this was began about 7 or 8 years back. My daughter is looking after this. So we help, we fund worthy organizations who are doing work in the area of mental health. We do research in the mental health. We come out with a lot of papers. We also try and play an influence in terms of the government and the role. So a lot of work we're running a call center through our partner where we fund them. So this is done by TIS, and the call center is iCall. So whether it's you can make a call to them, or you can send an email to them, or through a chat box you can ask any question. We will not even know. It's completely confidential. Nobody will know who had called up. And I think it's very important to provide such avenues to people. And a lot of our health and mental health initiatives are geared towards marginalized communities, for communities in rural areas, which for which there is higher need. There's huge cost the country is paying because of mental health issues, and we have not even costed that, but it goes into billions and billions of rupees. And if you are able to, and these are like, it's like going to a doctor. If you're not well, you go to a doctor. But if you are mentally ill, people are still feeling reluctant to go to a mental health doctor. So how do you overcome all this? How do you ensure that there are mechanisms where there'll be barefoot counselors? So if you have issues which are upsetting you, you can take it up with them, or you have channels like iCall call centers where a lot of your anxieties, especially in these pandemic days, the mental health issues have galloped substantially. So our vision is to be the most active and the most. I believe that we are the most active today in India in terms of what grants we are giving, and we are already giving grants to about 15, 20 organizations, and they have to be over next 2, 3 years. We want to scale it to about 50 odd organizations, and I spend a lot of resources from my personal side in helping these organizations. And support them not only financially, but also in terms of if they require any other help in terms of managing whatever they're doing. So that's on the mental health. The other is I've just started a new business in Bombay for physical health. It's realized that it's very easy to exercise in water. So the name of the business is Aquacentric. So we have a pool where, we serious cases of physiotherapy, or if you have a neuro issues like a stroke, we have trained people internationally, and we have inbuilt treadmills, we have inbuilt cycles within the water, and because they're able to exercise in water very easily, the recovery is much faster. So we have 4 verticals. We have sports, we have neuro, we have physio, we have women's health, and we have children's health. For example, if some children are having some disabilities uh, autism or many other, they are able to exercise easily, and I think the recovery there is much faster. So that's a new business we started, though in the last 10 months we had to be shut because of the pandemic. But I'm quite hopeful that once things are back to normal, we will expand it all on all India basis.
I'm also happy to tell you that we also have our own mental health initiative. We have a helpline, a 24/7 mental health.
Oh, very
helpline.
good. Yeah, very good.
We've also, recently, launched courses for mental health. We've launched POSH, which is prevention of sexual harassment.
Yes.
Started, music
Very
therapy, started of empowerment webinars. So and I've been closely watching also the your health initiatives. So it's been, very interesting to see that. My last questions I'll actually ask you is that how did you start, Ascend Foundation? What was the idea?
So it came from a belief that entrepreneurs add a lot of value to all the stakeholders, and I'd seen many entrepreneurs having very good ideas, and they were not able to grow beyond a point. They had their own way of dealing, and the biggest issue was that they were not able to deal with their partner, their family on one side. Number two, they were not able to attract talent. They were not able to delegate and empower. And then also, they thought that they were masters they had to manage each and everything. And I said that if we can actually bring in that fundamental shift in the entrepreneur's mindset, then they'll be able to grow. So it's a peer-to-peer learning platform where they learn from each other. And we have many webinars, we have many learning opportunities, we have mentoring also for these entrepreneurs. And I started with that belief that if I'm able to influence entrepreneurs and helping them scale up, then that will drive economic growth and that will impact all our lives, either as consumers or as employers or as a part of the society.
Thank you so much, Harji. It was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Mrunal. Yeah, thank you.
You. I've learned so much from this talk. Professor Ahuja Ji, whatever anything that you would like to ask, conclude.
No, I would like to thank him, for giving us his time and, sharing his thoughts, his wisdom with all the participants, the young minds who are the future of the country. So I would want to really thank Harshi for his interaction today. And also thank you, Mrunalji, for making it so very lively. Right? Each of those questions were ticklers, giving us new insights. Yeah. So yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Words are not enough to convey our gratitude to you both. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I can log off?
Yeah.
I'm logging off, huh? Okay.
Well, thank you so much. We were extremely humbled to have you here.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
Kunal, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for such an engaging session.
Thank you, Professor Ahuja Ji. Thank you for this.
No, thank you, ma'am. It is you who have actually, managed this inaugural session for us, and wonderful. We would want to see more of you at COEP, in addition to sir coming here.
It was my pleasure, and yes, we can plan many more such interesting webinars and
The objective is to give back to society, and you are doing the same thing. Yeah,
thank you
you're
so much.
Passionate about it. Yes. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I now call upon Dr. Abhishek More, IIC member and Faculty of Metallurgy and Material Science Department, to propose a vote of thanks, following which we have some instructions for startups and student interns.
Thank you, Anjali. So I take this opportunity to thank our chief guest, Sri Harsh Mariwala, for sharing his wisdomful experience with all of us at Startup Pune Fest. Thank you very much, sir. I also thank our guest of honors, Mrs. Brunal Pawar, for bringing Harsh Mariwala ji to this event, Pune Startup Fest. I also take this opportunity to thank Shri Pratap Rawji Pawar, sir, for his encouraging words. I thank our director, Sir Professor Sri B.B. Ahuja Sir, for his constant encouragement, support, and guidance to all of us. I thank Professor M.S. Sutavne, Deputy Director, College of Engineering, Pune. I thank Gymkhana team, Bhau Institute for the support. And this event is a culmination of hard work of students and faculties at COEP. I thank all of them. I thank all the participants and startups taking for their active participation into this particular program and making it a success. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, More sir. I now kindly request Director Sir to declare that Pune Startup Fest 2021 is inaugurated.
I declare the Pune Startup Fest 2021 to be open and inaugurated.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to all the
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you, Anjali and team. Thank you, Karnik ma'am. Thank you, Vijay sir, for all your support and help. It was a wonderful session today.
Thank you so much, sir. The expo is live now. We request one and all to visit the expo. Thank you for being such a great audience. Startups can now begin their interactions at the booths, and students can start browsing through the startups for internships. We have an exciting session in the evening by Ms. Sonakshi Nathani on 5 realistic tips to build a successful startup. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day ahead. All the best.
Mariwala family. They partner with unique businesses with the potential for significant growth. He's also founded the Mariwala Health Initiative in 2015 with the philanthropic aim of giving back to society. His health initiative is a leading funding body in the field of mental health in India. Thank you so much, Harji, for giving us your time this morning and gracing today's inauguration ceremony.